Greetings from Snake Mountain Boatworks on Wednesday, November 3, 2021. Yeah, we're here again. 1948, 18-foot, Century Seamaid Songbird. Since the last video, we have removed all of the bottom planking, all of the battens, begun cleaning, begun doing some assessments, and we also began stripping the topsides. And if you thought the bottom had surprises, yes, that's Bondo. But the weird thing is, Rick began sanding today because it just appeared up in this region that the Bondo was laid against perfectly fine planking. Well, when we started, this line of Bondo ran up to just about here on both sides, so just about there. Rick was using an inline Festool sander with 40 grit paper. We had to be very careful. We could have done it much more quickly. We can do it much more quickly if we reach for 40 grit and one of our big honking orbital sanders that we only use very, very rarely and only under special circumstances. But Rick started working, and I came over and my goodness, that's the editorial we, worked the Bondo away, we found, this is perfectly good planking. This is a perfectly good stem. This was all full. I don't understand. If you look down here, and Rick has already taken, at least 5/8, maybe 3/4 of an inch of this crap away with the sander. It continues right around the nose and becomes, here's visible wood. There wasn't any visible wood before. This was just kind of like a clown's nose that had been stuffed onto the very, very top extremity, most forward extremity of the bow. So he started sanding it away. Tomorrow, we've agreed that his goal is to make all this go away. Somewhere in here, there must be a hole, there must be something. And then the other piece of good news, remember the big round targets? Well, it turns out that when this genius reinstalled the cutwater, she or he decided to put a little glob of Bondo on top of each of these holes. And as you can see, even managed to put the cutwater back on in the wrong place. Let's see the double holes, double holes, double holes. God only knows what we'll find here. But you can see as you sight down here, take that line and imagine where it goes. It goes back about up in here somewhere. This is all just extra Bondo. And this side's even worse. There's a big glob here, and then it dives into a valley. This is a valley. And then it comes back. But as you can see, it's laid. It looks like it's all been laid on, of course, I'm being Pollyanna here. It's all laid on absolutely perfect planking, right? Come on, guys and gals. Be a cheering section. Let's all hope together. We can see in here in a couple spots, it never even adhered to the wood, which is even giving me more hope. But you have to understand, there's a lot of Irish in me. Irish equals hope. On the starboard side, we decided to begin stripping. If you remember before, let's see if I can go over here. The light's not as good on this side, but in one of the early videos, I made comments on what the dark lines along seams tell us. And several of you really wailed into me saying that I'm kind of an idiot because I can't recognize rot when there's rot right in front of me. And of course, that is not rot. If we come to this side, where we've started working, each of these seams was similarly dark. Here's one that I purposely left this way today, and here's another one that we haven't finished cleaning yet. But you see, using our methodology, all that dark wood disappears. The other thing I wanted to point out, I think you can see that this plank is standing proud of this plank. Well, why? Watch. If you're considering buying a boat, the two tools you need, your thumb and a nice big screwdriver with a plastic handle. You use the plastic handle to thump every place you can thump, every place you possibly could imagine being rotted or having rot behind. If it's not rotted, your plastic hammer, a knuckle's not the right tool. A plastic hammer will return a really clear thump. If it's rotted, it'll return something that sounds like mush. The other tool is your thumb. Now, look here. This one's really proud of this one, right? Well, watch. You see what I'm doing? Watch. All these fasteners have failed along here. All along here. But that's okay. This is a 1948 wooden boat. And to my eye and to my thumb, these planks are original. I really can't tell if they've been off or not, but I don't think they have been. The one absolute no-no is that our genius, while exercising his geniosity, decided that wouldn't it be cool to fill this seam, we can go on and on. You can see it there, that seam, these seams, this seam, with white 5200. I mean, that's really cool, right? Because that way, after you've stained it and the white still shows through, you have a zebra. I think a Seamaid zebra is kind of a unique sort of anomaly, huh? But of course, this genius didn't use classic finishing and restoration techniques. She or he reached for the most odious stain varnish you can imagine, because they had to cover that. I don't think Interlux penetrating stain is going to do much to that glob of Bondo. But the good news is these planks look really good. We're going to save these planks. And the other pretty good news is once we got everything off, save for when the genius was at work, you can see the genius's work here. These are sisters. Yeah. Well, let's say they're 98-year-old distant cousins who are no longer mobile. But we have, examples like this loose frame. Everybody must get a copy of the November-December issue of Classic Boating. You can't spend too much, because Don Dannenberg has written the seminal piece and published it in this issue that will take you through exactly what we have to do here, line by line, step by step. Now, I've read lots of books. My guys have read lots of books. We've done lots of boats. This one's a little bit more of a challenge. So I have 3 copies of the article in the shop. The 2 guys are aware that they're going to have to pass a test on Monday so that they understand how we're going to go through this. But we have some frames that we will attempt to clean and keep original. Certainly not this one. I think this is kind of cute. You take it and it's split all the way across here, so you just stick another piece of wood on way over there on the other side and drive a couple of carriage bolts through. At least they're brass carriage bolts, and then you got a good frame again. Almost all of the tails are loose, which is why whenever you do a 5200 bottom, you always take the chine plank off so that you can either refasten or tighten all of these tails on all of these frames. As we come back to the engine area, this is where we have issues. But I said there's some good news. I did a little scraping on the landings of the keel, not right here, but it looks like early on in her existence, somebody put multiple layers of Century bilge paint, applied it to this landing and to the facing edge. I went at it with one of our scrapers up forward a little ways, and once I got down to the paint actually has protected the wood. So the keel looks like it can be saved. You see, we have one issue right. Can you see it? Here's a steel wool pad. Run up that frame and sort of sight down. That frame's sitting a little bit low. We'll address that in the structural part of this project. But other than that, and then of course there's the forward end. But there again, you see how a keel and the gripe are formed. The keel itself is up here and it's in pretty good shape. It's this puppy that runs as a single piece all the way down to here that we'll have to fabricate anew. Mr. Bondo's been here as well, so we'll have a little bit of Dutchman work to do there. But I am pretty confident that we can save this keel. Here, sight down right there. See that little hog in that place we were just standing behind? On the port side, it's interesting. On the port side, the frames are actually in better shape. The Sistermeister has not been in here. Oh, well, I lied. The Sistermeister has been in here. That's just a useless piece of wood. I mean, come on, guys. If you're going to do a Sister, if you're going to insist on it, wouldn't it be nice to have it actually sitting tight to the frame next to it? Up here, things are pretty dirty. We'll probably start out with a degreaser and just see where we are, and hope we can save the framing in this area to show you where we are. There is the dash panel right down there. Tomorrow, Rick and I will be swaddling all of that in many layers of plastic. So We're making progress. We've got some good news. That we don't have to rebuild the keel is indeed very, very good news. The keel is still, if you sight right down the rudder, let's see if I can get right over the rudder. The keel, well, it's not, of course, the rudder's not sitting straight. There, sort of. It's not really the right tool. But the keel is straight as an arrow, has one dip, which we can address. The rot in this area, we will have to rebuild all of this. The bottom, essentially the bottom bow will be completely rebuilt. The bottom plank will be released along with both chine planks. We always release the splash rails because if you don't, that's where water can sneak behind. We release it, we seal everything, the mating faces, and then we bed it in mahogany 5200. Why mahogany? If there's ever a little bit of squeeze out that you don't quite catch, it'll be mahogany colored, not brilliant white, so you won't produce or contribute to a zebra. What are we going to do about the zebra? We're going to take a very, very finely ground reefing tool, reefing knife, and try to get that's enough of that stuff out of there. We can't get it all out, and then see where we are. I'm really not comfortable using mahogany 5200, so we'll probably pay those seams with some Thixo Flex, which is a nice brown mahogany, and will disappear. As soon as you stain this, these white stripes are just going to jump out at you. So, as I'm losing my battery, we'll end this update on November 3rd, 2021 for Songbird, 1948, 18-foot, Century Seamaid. Thank you so much. Bye-bye for now from Snake Mountain Boatworks.